Hello, this is Farzana Habib. This video is for CMN 302 Media, Culture and Society. Today I'm going to talk about hot and cool media. But first, have you ever thought what makes one medium different from another? I mean, there are obvious differences like books are made of papers and television is made of a bunch of electronic devices. But does this have any effect on how we experience each media differently? Probably not, because listening is not the same as reading, and reading is not the same as watching. But often, watching is not the same as watching, and listening is not the same as listening. Well, these differences have been explained by a famous media theorist, Marshall McLuhan, whom you probably know by his famous pronouncement, medium is the message. Few decades ago, in 1965, he asserted that media falls under two categories, hot media and cool media.
There are mainly two factors that make hot media different from cool media: definition and participation. Hot media. Hot media requires high definition, which means hot media is filled with data and has lots of visual, auditory, or other sensory information. Another important factor of hot media is low participation, which means the media content speaks for itself and does not need the audience to fill in any gap or to interact. For example, book is a hot media because it only requires our visual sense. It has a high definition and it is filled with all the information. We do not need to fill in any gap, which means this needs lower participation. Now let's look into cool media. Cool media has low definition, which means it has less information. Cool media needs higher participation, which means the audience needs to fill in the gaps to understand the content, as less information has been provided. So the audience need to interact less. If you look at video games, they are sights and sounds and touch. It also creates the concept of closure, which let you make your own choices. That means it needs higher participation. To have a clear idea on the differences between hot and cool media, we can compare these two. On the left, this is a photograph of hot media. Here we have a clear defined Pikachu which have so much data it doesn't take a lot to put together what it actually looks like. On the right hand side with the cartoon, we are looking at Pikachu and we are filling in a lot of information in our head, like Pikachu is actually furry. Now let's look at some other examples. Radio. Radio is hot because it focuses only on the sense of hearing. It provides one-way information, which makes us a passive listener in mind, and its denser information makes it high in definition, for which there is no room for participation between sender and receiver. Speech, on the other hand, is a cool medium because it requires tons of supportive information to get a message. The audience needs to interpret significantly. In Marshall McLuhan's word, so little is given and so much has to be filled in by the listener when it comes to speech. Photographs are hot because they are for the eye and do not need any participation. Cartoons are cool because they are low definition and require symbolic interpretation, and therefore participation is required. Telephone is also cool because in the 60s it was very low definition and more like speech. According to Marshall McLuhan, television is cool but movie is hot. Let's talk about that. McLuhan sees television as cool because in the 60s, television images were poor in quality compared to a movie watched in a theater, for which it required endless participation to interpret the message. McLuhan says movies are hot because they are direct and intense. The image quality and sound clarity is of high definition. Audience participation is low because all the information is spoon fed to the audience and they feel captivated inside a dim, crowded movie theater. Movies can be classified as cool as well because, in terms of cool media, less information is provided and more participation using more than one sense is required. In my opinion, Marshall McLuhan's theory has become outdated as during the time when this theory was suggested, technology was not advanced and even the film industry was not so diverse. The audience used to watch movies only for entertainment purpose, for which no analysis was required by the viewers. In recent time, there are movies made on many social causes to create awareness. Besides, the storyline is less simple than the old-time movies, for which it gives the audience an opportunity to criticize the movie and give feedback. The audience also has a deeper involvement in many films such as The Avengers, where they spend a vast amount of time analyzing the story and the character. For this, I believe film should be classified as cool media as well. Thank you for watching my video. There are mainly two factors that make hot media different from